The stage is a magic circle where only the most real things happen, a neutral territory outside the jurisdiction of fate, where stars may be crossed with impunity. A truer and more real place does not exist in all the universe. P.S. Barber, Cassie draws the universe.
Ngathi ubudlelwane bami naye kube into enhle kakhulu. Ngokuthi noma sengiphumile ejele bakwazile ukuthi bangilandelele ngalendlela ukuthi bakwazile ukuthi banginikeze isiqalo umsebenzi ngokuthi ngikwazi ukuthola amasentinyana amancane ukuthi ngiphile mangiphuma ejele ukuthi ngifundise abanye ababoshiweyo sengingaphandle.
I feel that I'm very respectful towards her. She works with a lot of boundaries. So if you don't feel comfortable, you can vocalize it. And as well as using your body language to make someone aware. So when I'm around her, I feel very free to be my true, authentic self.
I'm very passionate about storytelling. It's magic when you are telling the story and you pull the whole audience into the story and it becomes dead quiet. And you know you've got them. And in my research, I discovered in storytelling, the brainwave patterns of a teller and a listener end up the same, beautifully in the brain. So it's something to me is very exciting. My name is Ida Gartrell. I live here in Eshowe, a beautiful little town with a forest in its middle. I'm, amongst other things, I'm a drama teacher. I'm also an actor and a storyteller, and I'm trying to be a writer. Of course, I'm very keen on all manner of things in the arts. But at the moment, because of COVID, many of the things that I do have had to stop. But I'm still pursuing my drama classes, and I have private students in my garden, and I have many students in Mtunzini Primary. And then, of course, I'm very busy at the Museum Village here in Eshowe.
I used to work here on weekends at the museum, so I've had to learn a lot about the Zulu culture. My relationship with Ida is an absolutely wonderful relationship. Honestly, I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for her. So she's been my mentor, she's been a mother to me, she's been a friend, she's been my counselor, she's been so many things to me. But I started drama in 2006 when I was still in school with her. I felt like I could be whoever I wanted to be. She just gets you into the space where you feel comfortable to be whatever you want to be. And she's absolutely excellent at what she does.
Ukuhlangana kwami no Ida, sihlangane ejele laseShowe, eprison. Ejele laseShowe, uIda besebenza no Phoenix. uPhoenix bokuyinhlangano ehlumelelisa izimilo kubabanjwa ejele. Abantu ababoshiwe okusho ukuthi ke bafike ke bangithola ejele ngase ngiyahlanganyela kanye nabo ngoba mina bengumuntu okwazi ukudlala ama instrument of music, guitar, keyboard, kanjalo. uIda bebenza ama stage drama kanjalo, mina bese ngidlala lo music. Ilapho ke sakwazi ukuthi sixhumane khona ke no Ida kwakhona into esiyenzayo ke ejele.
At Mtunzini Primary, I actually teach grades 4, 5, 6, and 7. But with the grade 7s, who've obviously been with me for 4 years, you'll notice that they move very easily into whatever I'm suggesting to them. One of my primary goals is to ensure that children themselves begin to find their confidence in themselves. I allow them to make decisions on their own, but of course we do movement, we do creative movement, we do all sorts of improvisations. At the moment, we're busy doing choral verse because the education department felt that that kind of verse was actually safer due to COVID because they don't have to stand together. But it's very exciting to be in that field, and it's my passion.
Miss Gotro is very nice. She's very kind. She likes to listen to children, especially when you need help. She also likes to use breathing exercises to help us calm down whenever we stress. Say maybe if we write a maths test, she reminds us that we need to breathe in and out and just focus.
We do a lot of exercises on voice. We enjoy a lot of doing mime and acting, and she's always helps us bring out the actor within us. And she's nice because she never shouts. She always speaks calmly, she's patient, and she helps guide us all.
All sacrifice and suffering is redemptive. It is used to either teach the individual or to help others. Nothing is by chance. A.J. Russell.
Bongani is a very special guy. I met him when I was working in the prisons. Bongani gradually became more confident himself. I discovered that he could play the guitar, so we managed to get a guitar for him. I discovered that he was a very good actor at the same time. When Bongani was let out on parole, Bongani and I then rehearsed a play that a friend of ours had written, and we performed the play called Rattling the Cage at the Grahamstown Festival in 2011.
Music kumina uyinto engathini ebengiyithanda kakhulu music. Ngokuthi music ngohlale mina ebuncaneni bami ngikhula. Ngihlala igitha le sunflower oil. That can le sunflower oil ngifake iplang ngifake strings of fish line. Dale igitha so ngakhula ke ngithese ngimdala kwasho ukuthi sokwanda nezindleko iyinkinga empilweni yami angisakwazi ukulandelela umusic wami kahle ngendlela efanele ngigcineke sengiba yilo muntu engazuthi angisekho kuwona umusic kodwa khona enhlizweni yami ngiyawuthanda umusic kakhulu ngoba iwona engikwazi nokudeliver ngawo imessage ethize kubantu kunezinto eziningi engithanda ukuyikhuluma kubantu but ngiyakwazi ukusikhuluma ngomusic yayibona leyo.
For me to watch not just Bongani, but all the men and the women that I've worked with in prisons has made such a strong impression on me in that give the person a chance. We are all similar. We are just the same. These are just ordinary guys that have just made a hang of a mistake. I know that I'm very independent. I know I work for myself. I don't like to have to depend on other people, not because I can't trust them, but I like to get on with a job. I'm a very practical person. Tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. Too much talk is not actually necessary. It's even in drama you see that, where I'll explain something to them and then they'll ask me 100 questions and I'll say, decision-making skills here, people. Go and think about it yourself and then surprise me. Surprise me. I love music. I love art. I love to dance. Oh, I dance every day. I keep fit by dancing every day. I was very involved in some dance programs called ecstatic dance, of all names, of course. And you really find yourself in the dance. You do. Any kind of music, doing anything you want to. So in those workshops, there were children this big and people older than I was, which is very exciting.
She's very mature and she's a diehard. And I don't think I've ever really considered her as a gogo, the kind of gogo that we say nangu gogo, because she's very young. She's even sometimes when we're doing drama workshops, she just gets down and up so easily, and she's very fit and eats very healthy. So she's one of those people I admire, and when I mature and get older, I hope to be like her. But yeah, she's very nurturing. She's very good with little children as well. So that's when more of the gogo comes in, because it's that, but it's still more of a just motherly than Gogo, because she's just so young, you know, her personality and how she relates to people of all ages.
When I look back at the young Ida that I was, who was very shy, who hid behind her mother's skirt, who wouldn't say anything. Even when I learned to play the piano and my parents asked me to play for someone, I would hide in the bedroom. I would say, my dear child, my dear girl, just realize how special you are and that there's a whole big wide world out there for you to enjoy and be with and help people. That's another thing. I'm very kind, but I'm strict. And that you just need to be who you were meant to be. Don't hold back. Don't, just be who you were meant to be.
This is the great theatre of life. Admission is free, but the taxation is mortal. You come when you can and leave when you must. The show is continuous. Robertson Davies. We are often taught to look for the beauty in all things. So in finding it, the layman asks the philosopher, while the philosopher asks the photographer. Chris Jamie.
I feel like Cedric is almost quite a forgotten hero of South African photography that needs to be studied and celebrated and looked towards for his work over the years and the importance of his work. A lot of young photographers and image makers could benefit from talking to him and learning from him and looking at his work.
Cedric was the quiet one, thoughtful person who was very insecure. He was starting out wanting to be a photographer, and he learned. So he made this transition from working in a sugar mill, coming from a rural community, a very interesting family, and now part of this network that we had set up. And he grew in confidence, and he grew as a photographer into a very fine photographer.
I was expelled from high school, so I didn't complete my high schooling. And then I found myself, through fate, working in a sugar mill, very close by here. And that sugar mill was an incredible education for me because I was at the coal face of everything that was wrong with this country. I got involved in worker politics, and my political awakening was in that sugar mill. But from the first day of beginning work in that sugar mill, I knew that this wasn't what I'd wanted for my life. My name is Cedric Nunn, and we are in a place called Mangeta. And it's on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal, just across the Tugela River. This is ancestral land. I'm a fourth generation on this land. This is part of a much bigger community of people who are all kind of related to each other. You know, there's probably several hundred people that live here, and we are from a common ancestor.
What makes him and a number of others of that generation unique is that they were committed to photographing South Africa in a new way, photographing their communities and their people and their comrades in a new way. Not as victims, but somebody that had agency, and all of us had to deal with the notion of what it is to be black, but at the same time to be human. And his concern about identity and his work and his research has taken him around the country, and he's done a lot of work around the colored identity, an identity among Khoi families. And he followed those. So he's that type of person who's thoughtful, who's been able to transcend all the problems that we've faced growing up in a racist society. And yeah.
Cedric is a legendary South African photographer. For me, I never studied photography. I'm fairly self-taught, and I began my journey with Paul Weinberg as his assistant straight out of school. Interestingly enough, Cedric and Paul were in the same photographic group, and yeah, I became aware of his work, and I've always wanted a mentor because I haven't really had that in my career. But it's really magical to have somebody whose work you admire. We are currently working on a show together, which I'm very humbled and honored to be able to work with him and to be able to show images alongside him that I'm passionate about.
I think few people can understand today how difficult it was back in the 70s when you were classified colored and there was job reservation that said there was this small basket of, you could count them on one hand, of career choices that were open to a young colored man. And without an education, the others were out of my reach as well. It took me years of searching. You know, I mean, I wanted to write, but I didn't feel qualified because I didn't have an education. And then I tried to paint. And also, you know, trying to paint when there's nobody to even tell you how to mix a paint. A lack of information. I didn't know another painter. I fell upon photography in that searching process as a means, as a politically conscious person, activist, wanting to use a medium to engage with the communication I felt needed to take place in the late 70s, early 80s, that South Africa needed to have for us to find each other.
The actual act of creating the visual imagery is informed by the community and nourished by it, consciously or unconsciously. The intimate workings of individual imagination cannot exist outside of the human experience. In other words, community. Msanga Nearly.
This is quite a legendary, in this region anyway, quite a legendary character whose name was John Dunn. My grandmother was one of his daughters, one of his 120 daughters. John Dunn was exceptional in that he was probably the only white man to become a Zulu chief. And he had an entire region that was under his control as a chief. Most of us are quite proud descendants of this ancestor. As I grow older, I feel more and more connected to the land. And so do my children, actually. You know, they have as people do to place, you know, place has that effect on you. Yeah, it's a fairly beautiful part of the country to be planted in.
Well, people might not know him other than in the photography and fraternity and the arts fraternity. You have people who played an important role in the struggle. Even if they are there as photographers and artists, they played a particular role and created a space for people to have a dialogue about these issues of race and identity. So we must celebrate people like that. There are not many who retain what he set out to do and his perspective and grow as a person, at the same time influence others through his work.
I think it's important, in no matter what walk of life that you're in, to have a mentor and to have people that have been around longer than you. It reminds you of where your craft came from. Particularly working with Cedric, I always have yearned for somebody to actually give me some critical feedback, because as a modern photographer, journalist, anybody making images in the modern world, there's a situation where everybody's posting on Instagram and just searching for likes and positive affirmations, and there's no dialogue that can really help you learn. So I've sought that out, try and get some critical feedback and get some perspective on your work that isn't just your friends giving you likes.
The kind of work Samora is doing now, I did quite a while ago. And I did it differently to the way Samora does it. So it's an interesting juxtaposition to have, you know, a topi like me and a young person like Samora with, you know, a view that's now kind of a bit passé of mine, and this young, you know, sort of dynamic, hip view that Samora has of the world today. I was the director of a photography school for a while. One of the best things about doing that was working with young people. It's a beautiful thing. So it's an opportunity to do that with Samora.
When I learned from Cedric, I can do it by looking at his work together with him. Around the time he was making really important work is the time that I was born, in the mid-80s. It's a time when the country was going through very turbulent political and with the fall of apartheid and the wars between ANC and IFP, and he documented a lot of the stuff, as well as the ordinary life and the real people and what they were going through. He's also got a very perceptive and empathetic view of the human struggle, which is what I try and do with my work.
He's somebody who's thinking and tries to find a new way of portraying people, black people in particular. And that's a major thing about him. Are we just photographing and reproducing all the stereotypes that whites project about South Africa? No, we had to find a new way of presenting, new way of looking at people, and at the same time asserting an element of blackness. He comes and he photographs his own community and his family in a way that was very refreshing.
I've never been able to dream of the places that I've gone to. And so it's very difficult to understand where one goes to because you live in a globalized world. I'm here, I'm in the moment, present here while I'm here, and I might be here forever. I might be here for the rest of my days. I know enough to say that I'm not that kind of person anyway that can plan that long term. My work will determine that, you know. I don't see myself moving that easily. I always see myself having a route here, but I'm not quite sure where. It's the work. This new work that I'm preparing to do will have its own trajectory. I know that for certain. That's the one thing I know for certain. Not much else do I know.
Let me peer out at the world through your lens. Let me see how your blue is my turquoise and my orange is your gold. Let us share starlight. Naomi Shiab Nye.